Video 0108, In-Depth Interface, the Manage tab. I'm continuing the theme using the sample family. Click on the Manage tab and you'll see that we now have the most buttons that we've seen in the family editor. The majority of these are typically used in the project environment, but there are some that are useful nonetheless. Let's go through them again. We'll dispense with the Modify and the Family Editor and go straight into Settings. And first off, Materials. Here we can specify materials for our Revit family. These materials can be predefined already in the Autodesk library, or we can create our own. And in fact, we'll look at this in more detail in future videos. Here, we can also access object styles. We saw that object styles were available through the Visibility Graphics dialog box on the View tab. We can also get to them through the Settings panel. We can define our snaps and also length dimension snap increments, which are extremely handy when creating elements or lines first off. Project units. These are, as the name suggests, the units that the family uses when you create it. However, if you were to load a metric family into an imperial file, the units would display in an imperial format unless you have given the name to a particular parameter in a particular format. Shared parameters. Shared parameters need careful management, and we will be looking at these in a great deal of detail later on. We can also transfer project standards. This means that if you have line types or colours or materials set up in one family and you want to bring them into another, you can simply have both families or both projects open and transfer those settings that you want from one file into the other. We can purge unused elements, whether these are line types, families, or any other types of settings. If they're not used, you can get rid of them. As this particular family isn't structural or doesn't have MEP fittings, we don't have access to structural or MEP settings. There are, however, additional settings. Here we can define fill patterns, line weights, line patterns, section tags, arrowheads, temporary dimensions and keynote settings. Managing the project. Here we can manage images and decal types that we've placed into the family. The Manage Links and Starting view do not work in the family environment. The next panel is the Inquiry panel. Here we can select elements by their ID. If I know the ID of an object, I can click on OK and it will select it in the drawing area. Or I can conversely select an element, go to the Manage tab and find out the ID of a selection. As you can see, we have no warnings in this family, but we will review the warnings later on when we get some. Finally, on this tab, we have macros. Macros are generally not used within families, and for this set of videos, we're going to ignore these.